I think with everything, all the challenges we've had with COVID and that, I mean, the biggest thing with the guys is they have really bought into what what we need to accomplish, and, trying to stay healthy and all the safety precautions that we're taking, groups of 4, staying within their families, doing all that. Practice-wise, the first 3 or 4 weeks, the guys were working out 1 day a week in the wrestling room. So really the biggest thing, they've bought into what's going on here, knowing that we're not going to have this next weekend would be a normal open for us. And so, keeping them focused that we're not going to have those opens this fall has been a challenge, but I think they've really stepped up and done a good job in that way.
Yeah, for those that aren't familiar with what you guys are doing COVID-wise for some protocols, elaborate on a little bit what you guys have been doing.
What we did is we split up into 4 groups. We didn't do any weight room workout for the first 6-7 weeks, somewhere in there. Did a lot of outdoor workouts, did some in the math pav and that, and kept everybody within their families. The first 6 weeks or so, we worked out one family at a time in the wrestling room. And then about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we started doing two families in the wrestling room as well. And it's been real successful for us, so far. And we'll just keep working at it and keep going that route. But the other things we've done, we haven't went in the weight room yet. We figured with 700 athletes in there and a lot of bodies going in and out of there, that it would be better for us to stay outside, and that's kind of how we went about it. So I think it's been successful. We've dealt with a little bit, but really not too much at all.
And lastly, by not having any competitions like we've talked about until possibly January, might have one in December, but possibly January, how do you keep your guys sharp for such a long period of time?
Well, we've really backed off of normally what we would do, knowing that, okay, we're not going to compete in 30 days or start in season, let's say October 15th, and have an open November 1st. I think the thing is to train them for the longevity of that, and not. I mean, we could be busting them pretty hard right now, and with no competition and going 5-6 days a week, I think it'd be tough on them to hold that there, hold that those expectations and all that, and the work ethic and all that. So we've kind of just backed off a little bit. We did some different training on Friday mornings than we've done. We ran a 3 to 4 mile course every Friday, just to change it up, and just doing some different things. Just try to keep them in shape, but be ready for when it's go time. And we could have a duel as early as December 4th if everything works out, and it could be against Western, a duel against Western December 11th. But everything has to happen, and it has to happen right. And the coach from Kearney, when we're talking about it, he said, well, what if everything falls apart? Well, then we go from there, but at least we have a plan in place, and that was our goal, is to have a plan in place. Both these guys were national qualifiers last year, and we're at the national tournament when it was at 0 hour, and they called it off. So they all know that anything can happen at any time. So, that's we try not to have that in the back of our head, but we know it can happen. So, anyway.
Questions?
Guys, what did that kind of do to you? I mean, you're at the national tournament. I mean, you were warming up, weren't you? Yeah. When they said everybody off the mat, you're going home. You're peaking at just the right time. You're at a national tournament, and then to have it taken away. What does that kind of do going into this year for you guys?
Yeah, I was feeling good at the national tournament and everything, but with it being canceled, it makes me more hungry to want get back there again this year. Knowing that I made it and feeling good, I'm feeling like I can do it again and hopefully have it happen. So.
I think for me, it definitely so far still has acted as motivation for this season so far. That wasn't fun. That really sucked. Not gonna lie. I don't think anybody, we all kind of saw it coming, but nobody really expected it, and we were all expecting to wrestle. And have that just canceled under you, just to know that you were right there, you were this close to, wrestling in my first national tournament, I think that just added to all my training that I've been doing over the spring and summer and now in the fall to give me more motivation to work harder and do it again next year. this year, I guess.
Man, you're a workout fiend anyway, so did it just kind of, you can't go out and do anything for months and months, so you just kind of, I'm just going to go to the garage and start lifting and kind of work out some frustration that way too?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, that definitely happened for a little bit, especially when the whole quarantine stuff kind of first started. You know, I had nothing to do. I mean, I didn't really know what else to do, so I'd go and, you know, work out in my garage for a little bit and go watch TV for a little while, get bored, go work out a little bit more, do something, you know. I mean, it just, yeah.
How do you guys feel about the new normal, practicing in the mat path or practicing in the quad or practicing outside? I mean, how have you guys been liking it? It's just been different? I know obviously it's not your favorable thing, but has there kind of been something like okay, this is okay, I guess?
Yeah, practicing outside was different, but I enjoyed it, you know, something different. But I just want things to be back to normal, obviously, but being outside, it wasn't bad. And, yeah.
Until it snowed.
Yeah.
Well, it was a good change for these guys, and no doubt they like to push the weights, and so, and they, you know, and again in their mind, and I get it, you know, if we're not pushing weights, we're not getting stronger. But, you know, Mark Ryan, our trainer, you know, strength training coach, did a great job of changing it up for these guys and doing everything he could, and he really understood and bought into what we wanted to accomplish, and, you know, and so I think it was a good change. But I'll tell you, when we started, 2 or 3 weeks ago in the weight room, these guys were ready. They wanted to, you know, so I think that's helped too. Their motivation in the weight room is pretty high right now as well. So they're doing a good job.
You grew up as, yeah, you're an old school wrestling coach.
Mm-hmm.
And to have to adapt and change and not go to the weight room. And I mean, you've done it the last 2 or 3 years, kind of adjusting on the fly. But this is something that, you know, nobody could kind of figure out what's best.
Well, I think,
How do you handle that?
you know, I mean, for sure old school, but I think I've adapted throughout my career as well. You know, went from college wrestling to the high school scene and then back to college again. It's not an easy transition there anyway. But I just think that's, honestly, is part of life. You know, you never know what's going to be thrown at you, and so you've got to be able to adapt and adjust and okay, put the best plan together that you know how, you know. And then, you know, got great coaches as well, Coach Mercado and Coach Mendoza, all put our minds together, you know, young coaches as well, you know. And so I think with all of our plan and you know, seeing what the administration was asking, you know, last summer, and hey, let's break up into families, and it starts putting things in your head. You know, if you can do smaller pods, families, you know, groups, whatever you want to call it. And that's kind of the direction we started heading in. And you know, I think it's been tough not being able to, you know, do some team bonding. You can't do that. You can't get a lot of, you know, we tried to break up in groups to where we put a Donnie with a freshman, you know, and work with them for a couple weeks, and, you know, maybe Seth with a transfer, something like that. So they knew the area. If they were going to work out, maybe, hey, let's go for a hike, or let's go for a run, or go for, you know, do some different things. But so we tried to break that up within our groups as well. And both these guys were group leaders in their group. So if they wanted to do something, okay, Group A is, you know, they had their own group me text and maybe send out, let's go do this today, first couple weeks, because we really couldn't do anything mandatory in that. And so these guys were great leaders in that way. As far as me being old school, Patty, I don't know if that's a compliment or not.
Along with the extended off season, is making weight an extra challenge there? Are people putting out too much weight or not enough, or has that kind of affected you guys at all?
You know, I don't think so in that way. It's been longer. I think we put together our descent plan earlier in the past. Really, our descent plan is kind of just coming into effect now, because we're basically, if we do compete in a month, basically tomorrow would be 30 days to the if we wrestle in Kearney. And put that descent plan together there, you know, and these guys know. You can look at, I mean, we weigh them in pretty pretty often, and every week you can see they're losing weight anyway, just because they're not maybe doing the things they do in the summer. And maybe some guys have put on some weight, though. I take that back. So, maybe moving into the dorms, they're lifting more, different lifting program for some of our young guys. Our older guys are really, pretty stabilized as far as where they're at and know where they want to be. Don't want to get down to a week away from competition and have to, cut off 15 pounds. So, we put this descent plan together. In fact, just got it posted today and then they can start really looking at that and seeing where they're at. And really, there's only a couple guys that I'd be worried about as far as, getting their weight down and being competitive.
For you guys kind of used to it? I'm assuming that you've done it since high school or probably much earlier. That kind of you just know it's out there and you can do it, like you said, in 30 days.
Yeah, I'm pretty used to it, but this year's a little different, not knowing exactly if something's going to happen, you know what I mean? But just being prepared at all times, like, okay, if I need to make weight here, I'll be able to do it, you know what I mean? So
I guess for me, it hasn't really been, at least last year and this year. Last year I weighed, my weight class 197. I weighed 197 that was like the heaviest I would weigh all year. I had no issue. But this spring and summer, actually, I have gained some weight. So now I've actually filled out the weight class a little more, but I'm still, and I'm not worried about my weight. It's easy to make weight for me at this point.
We're not a big weight cutting team either. I mean, we don't push a lot of pounds on guys. If it's a position where we felt like, okay, we've got a pretty strong kid here and he may need to trim off 15 or maybe even 20. He's pretty strong. He might be a good 49-pounder for us, maybe in that position. Or even they might even decide if hey, coach, I think I want to go this weight, reads the writing on the wall and says, hey, I need to get down there. But as far as, a lot of weight cutting, like back in the old school days, that doesn't happen as much. And it takes a lot of fun out of it. It's just a different day, and the descent plans and the optimal performance certification that we do takes a lot of that out of it. And really, it's less stress for everybody, and it makes the sport a lot more fun. And high schools are doing it now, so they're used to it more. And so kids really cutting weight and doing it the right way is better than it ever was when I was wrestling. And so for these guys, they do a better job, nutrition better, the information out there's better. It's just better for these guys. And like I said, we're just not a big weight cutting team, and we try not to push it and only have a few guys that really, each year, that may have to really trim off a lot of pounds.
Coach, when it comes to the unpredictability of the schedule, is there an advantage that you guys can gain as far as when it comes time to ramp things up? Or how are you taking that, I guess?
I think for us, just the consistent training, and even if we have a couple days where we can't go, we're pushing the guys to, hey, get something in on your own. I think for us is the consistent training of just doing a little bit all the time. And when we can ramp it up and say, okay, we got 3 weeks and we got a duel, it's going to happen. Like I look at it right now, December 4th is what's on our calendar. I mean, maroon and white is right before Thanksgiving. That's part of our weight plan, descent plan. We've got to make this weight on the maroon and white. Basically, the next, 2 weeks away from that weekend, you'd be wrestling Kearney, and that's our goal right now. And that's what they need to push for, train for. It's on the calendar. That's what we need to do. And so let's get your weight under control. Start amping it up, and that's kind of where we'll be at probably here this next week is to push for that. And if it falls apart, then it does. But at least it's something for these guys to push for.
Question of the week: what brought you to CMU?
I grew up here locally, and I know the area, and I love Junction. So, and I heard a lot of good things about Pive, so yeah, couldn't go wrong with it.
Couldn't go wrong with that.
I think for me, definitely the guy I'm sitting next to was the number one reason that I'm here right now. When I first came here, I love Pipe. He just stood out to me more than any of the other coaches that I'd ever talked to. And Grand Junction's awesome. The area around Grand Junction's awesome, but yeah, mostly Pipe for sure.
Me too. It doesn't hurt that I was born and raised, an hour and 20 minutes from here. So, you know, when the job, I was about ready to retire high school. I mean, as I was going to be done, my youngest daughter was going to be a freshman playing basketball. My son was wrestling at Western. I wanted to follow them, and I was thinking, I thought, well, I'll throw my name in the hat. And here we are 14 years later, you know. So it's been great. You know, it's been great as far as administration, the support we get, President Foster. You know, the community is awesome. You know, just everything that you could ask for. You know, they fund us well, they take care of us, and just a good community, no doubt. Great school. I mean, been here since '06. And to see what's changed here on this campus is pretty amazing, and everything that's been done here. So couldn't go wrong on that. Great question.